Dianne of Sacred Light Integrations is with us today. She helps people in their journey of self-discovery and self-healing with energy work and shamanic practices. She is a modern-day shaman, and in this episode we will talk about shamanic dreams. Well, hello everybody, and hello Dianne. Thank you so much for being with us again in this subject that is a total mystery to me, shamanic dreams. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited because this is such an open topic. Because, like so many things, there's different viewpoints and different ways to look at it, and of course, it's always the person having the dreams. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said the person having a dream because I, for instance, I'm completely clueless as to the term shamanic when add to dreams. So I would like to start with that. What are shamanic dreams?
Well, my understanding on all of everything I share, of course, is just my understanding, my interpretation. Shamanic dreaming is just really lucid dreaming at the next, at at a higher level. Taking lucid dreaming and becoming aware that you are dreaming, of course, is a powerful first step. Um, and understanding that the unfolding in our dreams is something from our subconscious. It's something that perhaps our spirits want us to know, or um, our subconscious is trying to bring to our awareness. The thing I think that ties in the shamanic part for so many is in the view of shamanism is just like that's any vision that we're having that we're not trying to make happen. Like sometimes when you go on a journey or you're astral traveling, you have an intention to go somewhere, you have an intention to meet certain people. Um, with shamans, like everything is in a dream is like it's daydreaming. It's the experiences that you have when you're in a journey. It's the visions that you have when you're in a trance state after accessing, altered states of consciousness, and of course while you're sleeping. Um, Many shamans, of course, we get back to, like in in native like shamanic work,
Mhm.
they were doing a lot of the work to try to figure out, like, to work with the nature spirits to figure out like where their tribe should go, like to find, food and water, and where they were going to find the resources they needed to build um, places to have shelter and so on. So they were looking for almost like a foretelling of like how they could go find these things. They were looking for visions to guide them. So let's keep back a step to that altered state of consciousness, because that's a shamanic thing that is kind of a key core to so much of things, to their journeys and their dreams to get to that altered states of consciousness. So various things that shamans use is, of course, meditation, quieting your mind, breath work. That's a very powerful thing. Drumming and music. How many times have we seen an image of Indians dancing around a circle to the drumming, to music, to chanting, that magical dance when people just can really just lose themselves in the power of the dance. And of course, herbs, which sometimes can be safely done, but of course, you always want to make sure you have someone that knows what herbs to use properly and how much. And of course, that getting into that altered state of consciousness just by quieting your mind in a shamanic journey. But by doing that, then, they set the intentions on what they're hoping to gain. Like I said, if they were looking to go find shelter, or, where they should move their tribe, they set that intention. And back in native shamanic work, I think that they compare stories of like what people were having of their dreams. What was this person seeing? What was that person seeing? They were comparing. They were talking about it. Um, I love the story that someone had shared with me once about how young children, they would teach them from a very young age to set the intentions before they went to sleep, and when they first woke up, of course, to talk about and share their dreams so they could begin to start to interpret them. Um, so uh, in shamanic work, of course, we always talk about the spirits. Spirits are very a part of the shamanic work, and they believe there's many shamanic cultures that believe that everything in the dream is a spirit. It could be the rock is a spirit, the tree that they see is a spirit. Everything's alive and everything has a consciousness. And that becomes more instrumental than when you start talking about interpreting the dreams. So before I go further, do you have any comments on what I've said so far?
Well, I do because like I said, I'm clueless about when you use the term shamanic dream, but you have said a couple of things that got my mind running. And let's start from your latest comment. Everything is a spirit, and it's interesting because for regular people that do not have a spiritual practice, much less a shamanic path, when and me included, even with Dream Master Soul Specialty, we go into a dream, and this also kind of combines the first thing that you said, that shamans walk into this without setting an expectation, and we do set an expectation for dream time, the conventional dream time, and then we have this dream, and we don't assign spirits. We kind of still take things literally, like the events and the people, we're still seeing them in our dream like we see them in our awakened state. And I find it interesting that you bring up for me and for our audience that everything is spirit, as opposed to everything is this and that person and that other person. It wasn't until recently, I'm going to say this week, that I was thinking, you know what? Even the people that I see in my dreams, they are symbols, because they're not actually the people, is what they represent to me,
Yeah.
or the role they play. But now you're taking it to another level. In the
Mm-hmm.
shamanic practice, it's beyond that. It's not a symbol, it's not a thing, it's not a living being, it's all spirit. And with spirit, everything is on an equal plane, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
In the other part is walking into the altered state of consciousness without an agenda, to simplify uh, this, about not setting an intention. I suppose, like when I go to sleep, I set an intention for something, even
Mm-hmm.
if that intention is to receive guidance, or to connect with, again, someone, not with spirit. But I have an agenda, I have a deliberate intention. And probably because I'm not a shaman, that's not in my path, I don't have the ability, or maybe the courage, to just walk into the experience.
Yeah, you can, that's just opening the door. But so many times I think that we do go looking for some form of answer. Um, like you said, some form of connection, um, whatever that may be. And oftentimes when we go for a journey, we may be looking for just information or guidance or clarity on some things, but being completely open to how it's going to come to us. And you mentioned about the symbols and the metaphors and like the symbology of so many things. That's something that's very, I think a little more prevalent maybe in the shamanic work, because always looking at the symbol, and like you were just mentioning about, you may see a person, but it's maybe not, maybe it doesn't actually mean that person. It could be what that person represents to you. Um, I know, like in some of my journeys, I've seen like my ex-husband, and it may not be, I don't look at it as that part, but I look at what role he played in my life, and how, like that relationship went and where we were at the time of the dream. And that's
That's
like,
interesting that you're sharing. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
yeah,
I want to keep this, because maybe some people that are listening to us right now, this is already a trigger. because they're seeing the person, the ex that probably wasn't or is not a good ex, but this is a trigger in 3D in material life. In the shamanic view, you're seeing the essence. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another big difference. Even when, and I don't have that experience, but even working on ourselves, that is still something that is difficult to see. It's difficult to frame it that way.
But you could look at it from any aspect, though. If you, you could see an aunt or your mother or a friend, um, a teacher. If you see somebody, like maybe you see your kindergarten teacher, and just that would represent to you a teacher. But then also in shamanic work, I feel like so much of nature is a teacher to us. So I mean, in my dreams, sometimes I'll see an old ancient tree, and to me, that's great knowledge because the tree has been around for so very long. Um, and has seen many, many people cross its path and seen many different things happen depending on where that tree is. So then, of course, you can take it a whole nother level, like the archetypes. You can take it to that step of symbology and meanings as well when you get into deeper levels. So,
So one thing that I read today in preparation for this episode is that spirit trains us in dreams or prep us for an initiation, or they start sort of grooming us on our spiritual path. And I would like to ask you, because many people writing about shamanism, I don't know if they're shamans or not, saying that you start getting your clues for shamanic path in your dream. Did you experience that call or that kind of guidelines before you enter in shamanism? And when do you decide to pursue that path?
well, I think that path actually pursued me. I had my health problems, and when I started healing myself, I was being called a shaman long before I had done any formal training or had any classes, because that is one of the ways shamans believe that you receive the information, either down from an ancestor or, of course, book knowledge, and the other one is healing yourself. And I had healed myself a great deal, and that's how people were calling me that. So I think it had a calling to me, but I've always had a connection with nature. That's always been my resource. That's been my outlet. That's where I recharge. Um, I get very alive when I'm in nature and with the pure energy of the earth and so on. And upon taking the classes that respect for the earth, just blossom from there. So it kind of, there wasn't a real calling. Like I said, I think it called to me and called me home.
Wow, so nature was your
Yeah.
first indicator. How did it evolve from there after you started after you realized and started self-identifying as a shaman? How did this evolve?
Uh, of course, doing a few classes kind of opened my mind to the beliefs of the shaman, and I call myself a modern day shaman because, of course, I'm not out dancing around the fire pit. We do dance in circles, and I am known to dance here at my home um, with a rattle or a symbol or something like that to kind of allow me to enter that trance state. But the modern day, of course, I think is just the blending of all the things that I've learned, of course, through the alchemy classes that we've taken and meeting other people and studying and practicing and working with like vibrational medicine and energy healing. Um, that whole aspect of like everything is energy. And of course, that's going to cross many paths is throughout our days with healing, with understanding our dreams, understanding the spirit world, and all the different layers of that. One of my most profound times as a shaman, it was a nature-based class, and we were told to go outside and merge with a rock. And
Oh, wow.
I was just like very open to this. I'm like, okay, let's go do this. Well, I just shocked myself when I was able to actually merge with this rock. And the peace that I felt when I merged with that rock was one that I had not experienced to date when I did that. And so it was very calming that, here the rock's just like you humans have to run around and have tasks to do. And the rock is just telling me, like, I'm just very calm. I can just watch the world and be at peace. And when it rains, I get a bath. And when it snows, I feel clean and refreshed, you know, and to have a conversation, it may sound crazy and they want to put you in a padded room, but it is also very calming to your spirit to connect to that deep level of nature. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. The rock wit, you know,
Yeah.
with that, we get into the subject of crystals. Crystals with
Yeah.
their information, you know.
We're kind of digressing, but the conversation usually does flow. Um, One of the other things that is like core to shamanic work is the belief of a lower world, a middle world, which is where our consciousness is usually focused, in an upper world. And of course, your first indication in mind before looking, feeling into this and having journeys of my own to experience the other worlds is you would think that most people would think like above us would be like a heaven and the lower world would be a hell. But it's not like that at all. The lower world is more like our subconscious. Many times when I would journey to the lower world, that's where I would connect with actually a lot of the family collections that had passed over were in the lower world for teachers for me, and the animals, which so many times we know that animals are great messengers as well in their own right and what they mean to us. So that's another thing for people, like if you set the intention to journey or go into a meditative dream, to travel to the upper world, which is, I think, a lot of times our super conscious, connecting with higher spirits. The middle world, of course, you can have a journey to a middle world place, even though that is a consciousness. You can perhaps have your focus is maybe on a time in the past that you have something to heal, or if you're doing soul retrieval of some kind for a time in this lifetime that you perhaps lost a piece of you. And then
Wow,
of
so
course,
you had got into something really complex here, the concept of the lower, middle, and upper worlds, because uh, yes, like you said, when we think about the underworld, we think about mm, not necessarily hell, because that's very specific to a set of beliefs,
yeah.
but the world of the non-living in 3D, whatever that word is. I'm not saying that is good or bad, but uh, I never thought it was going to be the subconscious and use lower, but I can see the depth. And I think from what you just said, the one that I'm struggling more is that middle word,
Mm-hmm.
because my mind goes straight into, but isn't that our 3D, our awakened state, or is beyond that?
It's beyond that. I mean, personally, I feel it's beyond that because, like I said, in the middle world, there are times when we're in this state of consciousness, but you know how easy it is to switch your focus.
Yes.
Right now we're focused on this chat that we're having now, but in a moment, the phone could ring, someone could knock my door, and there's another aspect of me that's perhaps in that field of focus.
In that
Um,
segment.
mhm,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
It's where our attention and energy goes.
Hmm.
And it can be happening in many places at once, or in many events that are surrounding us.
Yeah. And like what I'm thinking about, like what comes to mind too, is like think about like I'm an adult now. But in my dreams, or perhaps it's come to my awareness that there was a time when I was a child in this physical life that there was something that happened to me. I can go back here in this middle world. And that's what I'm calling it. I can go back to that previous time frame where my focus was when I was a child on a situation that happened that I did not know how to handle. I didn't know how to process. And I can go back to that level and heal it there.
So the healing, so let me see if I can piece this in something that our audience have an interest into, because it's so out there, is the past lives regression and quantum healing. Does that happen in this shamanic journey, in this middle world, in this middle plane?
That's, I don't have like the answers, obviously. Mine is just my perception on how I'm perceiving it.
Okay, okay.
It's, yeah.
The different timelines and
Hmm.
healing the timelines. That's interesting. I didn't know that was something that shamanism, handling the timelines in this space that is called the middle
World.
the middle world. It's just that
Remember, remember, we're talking from this is my perception, because, there's shamans that are more focused on the, like, the native shamanic work.
uh-huh.
And I've had my hands in the clay in so many different energy healing modalities, the alchemy classes, studying the alchemy and like changing our, consciousness that we are and now to that kind of focus. So mine blends. I'm just kind of opening doors to what people can start to look into on their own, and how everything kind of fits into their reality and the stories that, their beliefs, if you will. So yeah, I'm just trying to open doors for everyone. I don't have the answers by any means. It all kind of blends and flows on
No,
what people have
absolutely.
had experiences on.
Yeah, it's complex. I mean, we are in this location that we meet people from all walks of life, even different cultures and different ages. So I can see how we have to expand our area of knowledge, and how we can help in many ways, and how we can make these things easy to understand for others. Definitely. Oh, so shamanic dreams, how shamans, or how do you use dreams to help people? Is that something that do you go to that lower world yourself, or you bring your client with you?
Hmm.
How this is done in shamanism? Because I mean, from the dream master perspective, uh, is yes, I can connect or I can retrieve information, but I don't bring anybody with me from this physicality, this 3D. Is everything that I do it, like a consultant on your own, and then I give you a result. So how does that work for your shamanic practice?
For the guided journeys that I do, it's like a probably more of a altered state, like is in the form of like a guided meditation. Um, just having some music in the background. Sometimes I do use my um, like a rattle or a sound maker to have that rhythmic sound to kind of get into just a very relaxed state. And then I share with them what I'm seeing as we're going on that journey, because many people don't have that ability. And it's fun when people do have some abilities that they're either seeing or hearing certain things as we're on the journey. And through that, we usually are asking for a spirit helper as we're traveling, and we'll wait till, in my image, when we go to some place, there's like a platform, and from that point we decide if we'll be going in the middle, someplace in the middle world, if we'll go to the upper world or the lower world. And then we have I explain to them the little process that we do to get to that place. um, and then from there it's like pretty much a guided journey. In some of the situations that I've had in the past, there's a spirit animal that comes forward that would like to return to the person's consciousness to be with them for a while. Other times we get messages from, you know, guides. Sometimes we run into past loved ones and or a previous version of themselves that may be missing an aspect of themselves, or they're carrying some heavier energy that the spirits will help release that from the person. Um, so it's just a very much a guided journey.
And how many times a person goes into this guided journey to let that be keep connecting with spirit or to heal themselves?
Do the other, I'm sorry, what was your question?
How many times a person has to go in this journey in
Oh,
order to heal themselves or to connect with that spirit or spirits?
it depends on it depends on what the energy is. If it is something that needs to be healed, if they're ready to heal, if they are participating, um, or if there's a lesson to be learned around it. I've guided some people on journeys, and then they've reached out to me later and shared that they've returned through a similar process like that we've done, um, to have their own experience. And that's what's really exciting for me, is empowering other people to do the work, or to have the journey of the excitement themselves and start to get the messages. So,
They return on their own?
mhm, yeah.
Wow. Have any of your clients or anybody you know wanted to get some relief of nightmares? And what do nightmares do in this journey? Can somebody have a nightmare when going on this journey, or what they call a nightmare? I mean, we know that we have reframed uh, our view of what a nightmare is, but the nightmare has some value on it. So, what happens with the nightmares in the context of shamanic dreams?
Well, in my perception, I mean, a nightmare, of course, is just there's a because in shamanic work, everything's a spirit. So there's just a spirit energy that's not, that could be calling out. Perhaps it's a energy that hasn't crossed over, that is attached to this person, or perhaps it's a spirit that's connected with the land and is not, you know, we are not giving back to the land like our ancient, or our other cultures do or have. Many of us don't do that now or practice that now. Um, so the nightmares are just warning signs of, like, perhaps the suffering that a person's having, either physically, emotionally, or mentally, um, and that could, uh, just bring rise of, like, is this something with the person, or is there a spirit that's around them, or is there a spirit that's maybe connected with someone that they're living with? So I think nightmares, I mean, on a very broad sense, it's just that there is maybe an underlying concern that need to be, addressed in the subconscious of the person.
A signal, or sometimes a signal, like you said, an issue to address. Not too long ago, I had Jamie Darrow Solar Lining in this podcast, and we touched briefly on the nightmares because we were talking on the astral plane. And just as a reminder for those listening to us, when you get into the astral plane, everything is there. Everything, and it's a matter of vibration. So there's the aspect of where is our personal vibration at the moment that we decide to do that deep dive in a shamanic dream, or just the regular uh, sleep cycle, and go to sleep with an intention. So, where is our vibration? Because the nightmare might be something you pick. Like many times I have said, I take the wrong turn on Astral Lane last night, and found things that I didn't want to find or I didn't want to see. But do I give it a lot of meaning? Mm, No, but if it's something that it keeps repeating, like I have had a couple of dreams recently where everything is dark, like pitch black, like the black screen around the Zoom call. And I'm not scared. I'm just like, I'm gonna keep walking because I'm going. It seems that I have to go to a place that is right there, right after the threshold of that darkness, that black wall in front of me. So uh, I guess when it's reoccurring, I have read that when you have reoccurring dreams, repeating in dreams, it's also a message. So one time, uh, a vibrational issue, something that you pick, like I said, you took a wrong turn on Astral Lane, um, or two times, well, three times. There is something, there's a theme here.
Hmm.
That's something that to be explored. So I like to caution people about that part. If it's something that, like I learned today, if it's something that keeps coming, it's something that has a deeper meaning, or spirit is trying to tell you something. So don't ignore it and look into that.
Yeah,
But
very good.
in terms of what scares us, that's another dimension, because there are fears and there are irrational fears, which is also very subjective, because in our awakened life we might not understand why are we afraid of something, but doing that journey probably to the lower world, like you explained, there might be some enlightening there for that part, or things that we are avoiding. That's another aspect of that I think now those belongs in the category of shamanic dreams, in the sense that we need to start looking at those and keep exploring and get a, how I can explain this, because I don't like to say fear, but there is fear. There is a primordial fear in nightmares. And it makes you not want to look at it. It makes you not want to go there. So in that case, I would recommend everybody that finds uh, that is in that space to just reach out to Dianne and trying to explore that aspect, because there is transformation. There is a power of transformation in nightmares. And if you feel that you cannot explore it alone, that's why we have people like Dianne, like Jamie, like many light workers that can help work on this path. Um, is I mean, we can talk about nightmares in the context of meaning or age, nightmares in adults, nightmares in small children. Anyways, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of the nightmares, because that's a whole another episode. But I do know that shamanism sees nightmares as a tool for transformation, as a way of transformation and learning about ourselves.
Well, that's what I think so much of, when you work with someone else. And that's the one gift that I have, is like when I work with my clients. I mean, I care, and I'm concerned about, what their current situation is, but so oftentimes I'm able to either through like the emotional work that I do, or a journey, and the new one of like the pilgrimage service that I just introduced, like visiting someplace energetically here on the earth, is when I'm there with the person, I can present something that I see from a different viewpoint. And it can be, it's like two people looking at the exact situation, but of course, the person that's involved in it or ingrained in the situation that's going on in their life, sometimes they can't step back and see things from a different perspective. And that's where, working with another person, anyone, is you can see things from a different perspective. And that alone opens your eyes to like, oh, I had not looked at it that way. So I think that's just a great tool that, you know, we can gift each other. Sometimes it's called tough love, and we have to point out to someone else like what, you know, you don't usually want to say, but if someone's working on themselves and they're just like, what could I do different, and just offering that guidance of just look at it from that person's perspective or from this outside view. So, and
Yeah,
sometimes in the journeys, that's what we can do. So,
that's what we call a fresh set of eyes.
yeah, exactly. Very much so.
Definitely. Well, Diane, this has been a very informative conversation, at least for me, because I really, other than the term shamanic dreams, I didn't know how much was in it, and definitely the explanation of the lower world, the middle, and upper is something very different of what I was envisioning those words to be, and how you do your work with people and the journeys, and so much to explore, and so much good is for people to discover and to learn. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you. And I just hope that, you know, like, I don't know all the answers. This is all just from my current perspective and my current level of stupidity, if you will. That's where I'm at right now. But I think just introducing the terms to people, they can do a lot of their own research, and they can start to dive into, you know, the spirit world themselves, and just open your eyes to learning new things, which is always a great tool. So thanks for having me today and talking about this, because obviously it's an opening a can of worms for many of us, because there's so many different ways to look at it. But it's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And Diane can be reached at her website, sacredlightintegrations.com. You can follow her in Facebook, Instagram, and also in her own YouTube channel. Thank you for listening, and until next time, sweet dreams.